evening, ladies and gentlemen, or good morning if you're watching this in the morning. It is Tuesday, which means we are covering Esper Genesis, the Holocaust of the Ekajati. I'm going to be honest, I don't know too much about this campaign. We have another campaign running on Tuesday nights when they're running this. So, apologies if I mispronounce anything, and I am here to do my best with all of the information given to me. On Tuesday night, it is run by our DM, Jason. So enjoy, and here we go. A chance encounter above the planet Esperella leads a ragtag group of Espers to stop the murder of a courier. Impressed with their display of skill, the courier's customer, one Achille Vasher, hires them to help him with his research. Achille, a now retired celebrity archaeologist slash show host, is researching a long extinct race, one that seems to have died out before any modern species made it to space. Giving them his old ship, the Roustabout, and hiring his former pilot, Jim Riley, out of retirement. The new crew of the Roustabout is made up of Francis and Jade, a Matokai and human pair of warriors on the run from the Scarlet Dust, a band of pirates after a heist gone wrong. Adrian and Kat, two Prometheans with information stolen from a megacorp. Hall, an Ashen Forged created and escaped from the Shadow Technocracy. And Danru, the Kesh Sentinel and group dad. He's not on the run from anyone and uniquely has no criminal record. Their first mission consisted of going to an alien world, violating their holy site, extracting information on the lost species who had saved the natives from their original home. Then, due to Danru's honesty and earnest nature, apologized and befriended the local tribe. This was followed by a series of side jobs, escorting some techs and being ambushed by station toughs and a Promethean assassin, prompting Adrian and Kat to be on their guard. Then going down to Asperella to drop off cargo, only to get caught up in a gang's attempt to start a drug trade on the planet for the Scarlet Dust. In the following months, the crew takes their recovered information to a linguistics professor in hopes of translating the language. An attempt is made on the professor's life by unknown Espers and one man in a suicide vest. Adrian's paranoia later thwarts an attempt to erase their data by two men who speak to one another in a language the crew is trying to translate. After very publicly refusing to help the crew for the fear of her life, they and the professor set up a system of dead drops to keep the professor safe while she secretly continues working with them and Achille. While leaving the system, the Roustabout is attacked and both ships are disabled after ramming one another. A three-man team boards the Roustabout and is quickly dispatched. A rainbow-like light is seen escaping from the bodies and moving through the walls of the ship and out into space. An effect Kat has seen from the attackers the day they first met, but hasn't been sure about. Boarding the ship, they are met by hostile Espers, all of whom display the lights when they die. They are picked up by the SDF patrol ships and taken to a station where they make repairs to the Roustabout. Realizing they are being hunted by whatever these things are, Achille arranges a fake mission to escort some miners on a distant world, but in reality, the crew is traveling to see some more ancient carvings left in a cave by an extinct local species, carvings that look like the language they've been translating. They arrive at this new world, meeting Achilles' contact, who sends them out to the mine with a local college student, only to find the mine inhabited by a native species, one using stone spears and wearing loincloths. Refusing to harm the natives, they relied on Adrian's familiar to photograph the carving and backed out of the mine/cave complex. Realizing the colonists on this world had not reported the presence of intelligent, if primitive, natives, they very nearly took their anger out on their guide. The following day involves a meeting with the local mayor, who pleaded with them not to release the information about the natives. Since the colonists had not been harming or exploiting them, the crew promises and lets the planet's government release the info themselves, allowing them to spin it in a way that wouldn't make them look as bad as they otherwise would. The carvings are a corrupted version of the language they've learned, called Ekajati, after the race that spoke it, but they are able to make out a set of coordinates that lead to the shortcut, a space anomaly that has puzzled every species that has found it for centuries. Stopping at a large research station, they look into the history of the shortcut before venturing out to the exact coordinates they had discovered. With some poking and prodding, they find their coordinates are to a small opening, allowing them to slip into the shortcut and confirming that the theory of it being a pocket created by folding space and time. Inside, they find darkness and a huge structure, a sphere as large as a planet's orbit. This Dyson Sphere's AI asks if they seek sanctuary. Many questions later, they learn that the sphere, sanctuary, was home to thousands of intelligent species that were otherwise extinct, including an archaic form of Matokai, two archaic human species, and the race that had carved the coordinates leading to the shortcut. The crew was nearly blinded at this point as the cockpit was flooded with light and they saw three vaguely humanoid forms made of light. The things hunting them were dim and hard to see in good lighting, but these were like spotlights. They introduced themselves as the Gene Alo. Oh my good lord, I am so sorry, Jason. I just butchered the hell out of that. They were an advanced species made of pure energy and unable to interact with the physical world except through devices that had been made for them. While hard to understand when questioned about the Ekajati, the Janelo admitted to being responsible for the Holocaust that overtook them. It was an attempt to uplift the species, but not all had agreed. Some were too hedonistic for the enlightenment offered, and had tried to interfere. So the species was no more, but the hedonists, the Primorian, were all still present in the universe, a corrupted form, unable to interact with the world except through stolen bodies, corpses brought to life. Bound and determined to destroy the Genelios, contact with the world, and to keep their own history a secret. The crew was warned to tell no one of what they had discovered and of the destroyer that lived in the nearby station. Returning to the station caused a flurry of activity as they lost sight of the ship. The station commander stalled for time when they tried to leave and hackers tried to board the roustabout. The crew made their escape after discovering the destroyer was a researcher on the station along with the station head, who were both Primoran, and convinced the crew had gotten inside the shortcut. Not sure that they should tell Achille what they had found, they took a side mission bodyguarding an up-and-coming singer, Stella, on an out-of-the-way planet. She was being stalked by an Esper. They prevented an attempted attack on her and finally battled the stalker on stage at her concert, where Dan Rue decapitated him on live stream and in front of 10,000 teens at the event. In the aftermath of the battle, Dan Rue went backstage to heal Stella and any security that was injured, only to be taken by a man the crew had encountered when entering the system. The crew, having declared Kat captain after realizing Dan Rue had been grooming her for leadership, set off in pursuit of the kidnapper when he called to taunt them days later, telling them where he would be and revealing that he was a Primoran. They could have Dan Rue back if they bested him in a contest. They would make their way through his hunting preserve and he would hunt them. Their pursuit was interrupted by sabotage to the roustabout. They misjumped and arrived in empty space, empty except for a dreadnought belonging to the Shadow Techracy. They had created Hull, experimented on him, and wanted him back. Captured with little hope of escaping, Hull makes a deal to stay and willingly help the Techracy if they allowed his friends to go. The Techracy agreed, provided he also told them about all the strangeness the crew had been involved in. While half the crew was on their way back to the roustabout, Hull, Jim, and Francis were busted out by a Primoran infiltrator. He admitted to them that Henry Cyrno, the leader of the sect that was after them, would like them dead. However, the Shadow Techracy was a much bigger threat, so he offered them a deal. They helped him take out the ship they were on, and he'd make no attempt on their lives for now. Much sabotage and a huge gun battle later, the crew escaped to continue on their pursuit of the hunter and Danru. When the crew arrived at the hunter's moon hunting preserve, they were forced to leave Jim and the roustabout, who returned to orbit to await the outcome of the contest. During their first day of travel through the heavy forest, they encountered Arumonto, a sentinel, and only survivor from a ship named the Torador. He and the crew had been hunted, fighting off native life and a group of rich hunters invited to partake in the most dangerous game scenario. The crew finally make their way to the hunter's cabin, where they battled the hunter and his forged hounds in a battle that nearly took out the life of the roustabout's new captain. After the battle, the hunter revealed that he had already passed Danru off to Enri's people, but offered to cut a deal with them to spare the body he currently inhabited. Breaking in a new body took time, and their Esper powers were weak in the meantime. Adrian took the deal, promising to spare him for immediate info and the promise of more whenever he asked for it. Calling Jim down, they found the roustabout had suffered battle damage as drones had been hunting Jim since he made orbit. Days without sleep had left him rattled, but with the crew on board to man the guns, they made short work of the drones as they left the system. Disheartened by the loss of Danru and uncertain what to do next, the crew was offered a job by a man of the name of Smirgans, an underworld contact of Jade and Francis. He needed them to infiltrate a pirate band and take them out. Agreeing to take the job, they make their way to the pirate station under an alias, and some hoop jumping managed to get it in with Vercast's raiders. The raider were a bunch of pirates that attacked other pirates and smugglers, helping them take out a Scarlet Dust ship, and retrieving a kidnapped scientist and a family from on board. They were finally taken to the pirates' asteroid base. When they arrived at the base, it was empty save for Vercast himself, hiding in a safe room concealed deep within the base. Fearful and unwashed, Vercast wanted nothing but to escape. An alien artifact had unleashed a replicating army of constructs that had stripped the base of any organic matter. Making their way out, they're confronted with an army of spidery droids and humanoid Esper hunters. It was a running gun battle through the halls of the base, with Adrian's limp body thrown over Arumonto's shoulder, his mind jumping to the roustabout to prep it for takeoff and defending it from the spider bots. During the battle, most of the pirates died. Vercast ran from the battle in fear and was killed by a larger group of AIs as the rest were killed by the roustabout crew when they tried to betray the crew for safe passage out. Only the Matokai pirate Stazka was smart enough not to try anything. Finally escaping the base, the crew radioed the defense force, bringing them in to clean up. Having discovered that the Scarlet Dust crew had ID'd Francis and Jade, the two decided to part ways with the crew as to not draw the Scarlet Dust to them. Taking one of the pirate ships as Stazka as pilot, they took off into the black before the defense force could arrive. After one more side job, where they were accidentally becoming human traffickers and then helped the authorities in the Sol system bust the trafficking ring, they discovered Jim had told Achille everything. He had done it while avoiding the drones around the Hunter's Moon. Not sure he'd survived to pick up the crew, he thought someone should know what they had found, and if the crew survived the Hunter, he knew Achille would come pick them up. Some of the crew have stayed pissy about it. Returning to Esperella, they find Achilles' home prepared for a long vacancy. With their only clue, a comment Achilles' butler made to Jim, the crew set off to find an old contact of Achilles. The contact is an incredibly powerful Esper known for her love of pets. The cuter and rarer the better. This leads the crew to steal two Bolarolas, an endangered species of furry puffballs. Achille had been there before them and bribed her for information. She accepted a Bolarola and told them where she had sent Achille, to an Ekajati ruin where she didn't think he'd find much. For the second Bolarola, she traded them a pet and told them of a functioning base in the same planet. When they returned to town, they realized their new pet's name was Ekajati. The crew of the roustabout have been beset by many groups of individuals. Chief among them are a race of functionally immortal beings known as Primorans. These beings can take the form of any person as they inhabit dead bodies to function. The crew has received a hot tip about a person who originally gave us information, going to a planet with Primoran bases on it. One of them is defunct, the other is very much so functional. They also know that Achille is planning on going to the defunct base, as that's where all the information he has. The plan is to get Achille out of there, get him safe, and return to explore the functional Primorian base. Along the way, the crew got targeted by folk apparently on a ShadowNet job, and after destroying one fighter, rendering another unusable, and Adrian literally teleporting into the gunship to hold engineering hostage, they sent packaging, but the roustabout suffered considerably. While on a crucible to repair, Arumonto took the time to go jogging at a local park with it. He was met there by a Promethean going by the name of Jessa. She seems to be interested in taking Arumonto on a date, to which he accepted. With Yanni spying on Arumonto 2 feet above him and transmitting the signal, Kat instantly recognizes her cousin as she gives Arumonto a light hug. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is where we will pick up on January 7th with a new episode of Esper Genesis leading into the new year. I hope you guys are excited. I'm excited. I love hearing about what's going on in there, as both Eric and Decca and Sarah are friends of mine. So, as always, ladies and gentlemen, remember this is the holiday season, so be good to one another, and remember, roar for initiative.